to be dealing with. And right now, it's a little deceiving to show you these because this is the only buoy that we have close enough to the hurricane that is actually still reporting data. So you can see that big red dot. That is where the buoy is located. The hurricane's going right towards it. Right now, our wave height's at 6 feet. But of course, Jim, we are expecting these wave heights to go much higher than that. 10, 15, 20 feet, even higher for some locations.
Yeah, this is a big wave machine, and everyone will see these waves as this thing gets toward the East Coast, that's for sure. Again, guys, a look at the satellite picture this morning. I want to go back a few hours here where you can see this pretty much going right over Barbuda. I think it's juxtaposed a little bit to the north of what actually happened because this thing really did go right over Barbuda. But either way, you can see now as it comes toward Anguilla, also into St. Martin, which is the middle island, and St. Bart's down toward the south. We're already getting gusts now in St. Martin up to 82 miles per hour. Okay, so we're at hurricane force pretty much at this point. You're getting into the worst part of this eye wall. It's not this pink part there, but it's just this little red part. That's if you're going to get 180 out of this, it's going to come in right there. And we're just about seeing that get on top of St. Bart's and eventually toward St. Martin. If you remember St. Martin, a lot of videos of St. Martin because the airport pretty much, those are those planes that land right over your head. That's at St. Martin right there. All right, so here we go, guys. What's happened this morning is we've seen a little bit of, the forecast is actually more complicated because there's been a shift to the east in the models, okay, number one, and if you're a responsible forecaster, you don't want to take the Eastern Gulf out of the picture yet because what if the models shift back to the west? Now people in Tampa and Fort Myers have let their guard down in the Panhandle, right? So even though we've seen the shift, don't let your guard down yet on the west side. Also, I would caution you in North Carolina, South Carolina, Southeast Georgia to keep an eye on this because now, if you look at things and certainly extrapolate out into the future, now we're a little right side loaded. And that means certainly we could see impacts for Savannah, for Myrtle Beach, for possibly even Charleston. So don't let your guard down there. This is going to be a very powerful hurricane. There's nothing that leads us to believe this is going to weaken and weaken substantially. Yes, going from 180 to 120 is weaker, but it's not necessarily not impactful. Latest Euro, look at this. This is the big deal. Look at how far east it's shifted. Yesterday it was down over the Keys. So what are they seeing? GFS has always been pretty much in line with kind of keeping the track in either in central Florida or on the eastern side. Here's the latest GFS, and there's yesterday's, just north of Miami. All right, so they've been kind of on this eastern side for a good part of its lifestyle. But what I think has happened, really, there's a lot of large-scale players, this upper trough we've been talking about. There's a little weakness that's tailing off behind that. There's also Jose. And I'm wondering if Jose has actually, at least from a model standpoint, has weakened the ridge, the western extent of the ridge a little bit. At least that's maybe what the European is seeing. The other thing that's going to help us out, in addition to the G4 aircraft that's flying around with this thing, the high-altitude aircraft, are all these weather stations are doing 4 balloons a day to give us a spot look, a great look at the atmosphere overhead. And that's just going to make better output, I think, Jen, in the models.
Better data in will make a better forecast,
exactly.
And we certainly need that. The weather that we have in the Northeast, the rain, the thunderstorms, is all part of what could help steer Irma, right? It's all part of this big trough. And that's why we've had such awful delays at the airports. We're looking live right now at D.C. and Philadelphia. It's about the rain up here. And we had rain and thunderstorms yesterday. Today is going to be more of a rainy day than it will be a stormy day, but still impacting our travel. So let's take a look at I-95 for today. This front coming in isn't going to make progress all the way through just yet. And the fact that it is slow moving, by the way, is good news when it comes to the hurricane track and keeping it perhaps more east. But when we think about the rainfall here today, we've got rain all the way up I-95. All points are going to be affected. When it comes to travel on the roads, you will have a rainy commute. You will also have rain at the airports, and those low clouds may cause delays right through the day. Again today, we got New York City in the rain and actually continues all the way up into Boston as well. Steph.
We are bringing you the very latest on Hurricane Irma, where it is now and where we could see impacts in the Sunshine State and when that is going to happen with this little shift that we've been talking about this morning. Does that mean the timing is going to be a little different? Do you have more time or less time to prepare? We're going to keep you ahead of the storm.
Some things